Hello one and all, my name is Ryan Bruce, my friends call me Fluff, and today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, we're going to revisit the Mesa Boogie MultiWatt Dual Rectifier, and we're going to shoot it out with an old one as well. Over the last few years, I have been kind of hoarding really old rectifiers. For example, this 1992 Revision D Dual Rectifier, serial number 334, as well as, I'm pointing over to my other amps over here off camera, my triple rectifier, Rev F, blackface, chrome chassis, as well as the very first documented Revision E Dual Rectifier as well. But something occurred to me is that I never really had the MultiWatt rectifier when I've had these older rectifiers. I actually got rid of my last MultiWatt amp before I started getting all these old boys. Honestly, I had the Rev F. I had a different, very late Rev F the last time I had a MultiWatt rectifier. So I thought it would be fun to kind of revisit the MultiWatt, but really compare it to the Revision D rectifier. Now, before we go any further, I would like to thank Sweetwater for making it possible for me to make this video, as they have sent me this MultiWatt Dual Rectifier for all of your amplifier Mesa Boogie rectifier needs. Head on over to sweetwater.com. There's an affiliate link down below in the description. However, all thoughts and opinions are still mine. Now, of interesting note, this Revision D, right below the MultiWatt, was made in 1992. This MultiWatt was made in late November of 2022. There are 30 years between these amplifiers, and I thought it would just be kind of fun to kind of compare them, just, for funsies, seeing how much the rectifier has grown and changed over the years. Also, let's see how close we can get the MultiWatt to sound like the Revision D, which I will note does not sound like Rev F or Rev G at all. It's much tighter, it's much more 80s sounding in flavor. However, before we get to the shootout, let's just hear the MultiWatt in a full mix scenario again, for fun. Let's do it. All right, so now it is time to kind of compare both the Rev D and the MultiWatt. I want to note a couple of things before we start with the sound comparison. I would like to note that the Revision D has been serviced fully by Mike B at Mesa Boogie. It is in top working order, and it has period correct tubes in both the preamp and power section. It has square getter Chinese Shugawang 8th gen preamp tubes in the preamp, and it has Coke bottle STR 420 Mesa Boogie Chinese power tubes in the power section. These are the tubes that would have come with this amplifier when it was bought brand new. And the MultiWatt goes without saying, it is bone stock and comes with JJ Mesa Boogie branded tubes in the preamp, as well as, I believe there's Svetlana tubes, whatever stock Mesa Boogie tubes are in the power section these days, that's what it came with. I haven't touched anything, so both of these amplifiers are in complete stock form. There will be no boost added in any of these, any of the comparison, and I'm going into a Universal Audio aux box cab sim, and I'm using a Mesa Boogie Vintage 30 equipped 412 cabinet that you were hearing for both amplifiers. Let's compare some amplifiers. All right, so I have my Revision D set up. I have the MultiWatt set up. I am going to use my Ernie Ball Music Man custom Sparkle Boy Stingray with my signature Fishman pickup in the bridge and a single coil in the neck. And you will have an indicator on the screen back here of which amp you are hearing at any given time. And first we're going to start on the orange vintage channels that are flipped to high gain in the 2 channels case, because since it's a 2-channel, we can make this channel clean or vintage gain. So we have these both set at vintage gain. I have volume matched these as best as I can. We're going to further dial these in, but this is where I'm at for high gain tones, starting with revision D. There's no boost going on. These early rectifiers were just so gained out. Moving on to the MultiWatt. You can hear right away that the mid-range is shifted and sitting a little different than the original 2-channel. I don't hate it though. It's actually pretty nice. We're gonna dial these in just a little closer to see how close we can get to one another. But let's move on. Let's go back to the Rev D, and we're going to switch both amps to the red channels. And this is what we got going on, starting with the revision D. You can hear it's a little bit more scooped. It's that classic red channel rectifier sound, just a little bit more gained out onto the MultiWatt. It's a lot closer to the Rev D on the red channel, in my opinion, than it is on the orange. So let's go back to the orange and let's just twist some knobs for fun. Let's see how close we can get these two. I'd actually say lower their mids and maybe up the low end and take down some of the presence on the MultiWatt. Yeah, that mid-range is sitting so differently between the amps. We're never gonna get that close, even ballpark, I don't think. Because the mid-range is shifted, the high end is shifted as well. If I had to pick one, I'll probably pick the 2-channel. The 2-channel is just, that mid-range is sitting right where I personally would like it. That's really nice. Let's move on to the red channel. Let's see how similar we can get these. I have pretty high hopes that we can get these pretty close. So, starting again with revision D. I'm gonna lower the mid-range actually, and I'm actually going to turn down the presence a little bit and maybe bump up the low end. The MultiWatt is definitely more squonky, if that's a word. I'm gonna turn down the mids and just see where this kind of goes. I actually feel like I need to turn up the gain just a little bit on the MultiWatt. The Rev D is doing a real nice compression. There's overall way more gain on the Rev D on tap. As I know you guys probably can't see this on the camera view because these knobs are chrome. However, the gain is just past noon on the Rev D, which is pretty nuts. So I'm gonna turn up the gain just a little bit on the MultiWatt. I actually want a little bit more low end on the red channel. You turn the low end up just a little bit on the MultiWatt. I actually really like the MultiWatt right now. It's sounding really good. I love where the mid-range is sitting on the red channel. Maybe a little bit more top end. Put the presence back in that we took out earlier. I feel like I got these pretty close. Definitely ballpark. Again, they're wildly different amps, wildly different tubes in them. This is a real testament to how the MultiWatt can really emulate the early Rectos, and I don't know, I kind of forgot that it could do that, honestly. So what do I think? I love the rectifier. Here's what I like about the rectifiers. Are they the tightest, most aggressive, crazy metal amplifiers on the planet? No, but what they can be is anything you need them to be. They're such a great platform for doing rock music, metal music, super high gain stuff. If you add a boost or something like the Dirty Tree, they really just do it all. They are a palette on which to paint your picture. And from the very beginning to current day, that has not changed. These amplifiers are my favorite amplifiers. I am so passionate and I love them. And if you would like to know more in the history of the Mesa Boogie Rectifier series, I will link down below in the description to go over to the website that I've archived and kept track of serial numbers and transformer numbers and all sorts of nerdy stuff to your heart's content. And with that, you've been wonderful. I have been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you next time.